This is another edition of PENSDOWN. Here we sit with journalists, practicing or otherwise, and we get to understand their journalism journey. I have been joined today by an investigative journalist committed to making a difference, who is also passionate about human interest reports, developmental journalism, advocacy in areas of agriculture, environment, sustainable development, as well as gender. He has in the past worked with the nation Nigeria, the Africa Development Bank Group, Federalist Newspaper, and Nigeria Television Authority, among others. Currently, he sits as head of investigations at the International Center for Investigative Reporting. Olugbenga Adanikin is my guest on PENSDOWN today. Welcome, sir.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I hope I got the pronunciation of your surname right.
Well, it's okay. It's pardonable. Yeah, I'm Ghanaian, so I understand.
Well, I
You
don't
know,
play with names because names are identities. I do my best to, as much as possible, get it right. It's part of the learning process.
I agree with you. But if I may quickly correct something,
Okay,
I actually worked um, as a as a freelancer,
okay,
with the AFDP. So I didn't work as a full staff of the
okay.
organization.
Very well.
And important I
Very,
clarify that.
very well.
Thank you
How
very
did
much.
you get into journalism? Was yours by accident or it was by design?
Well, I wouldn't say by accident per se. Um, Originally, I actually wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
I wanted to study law.
Mm,
Yeah. Uh, because I I seems to be someone who doesn't like discrimination.
okay.
Even while
Mm,
growing up in school, those people, friends want to, stay away from, probably because of
mm,
class or because of the level of intellect and the likes.
yeah. Mm,
Those are the kind of people I always want to move close with, just to give
okay.
them that sense of belonging, so to say.
Mm,
So, and I've always loved to say the truth and stand by
mm,
the truth,
yeah.
irrespective of the consequence. So all of these things probably my life ambition to become a lawyer. But again, African parents, particularly my mom, was against, because he knows that I'm kind of stubborn, and then he knows that and then she also feels that lawyers, legal luminaries, she believes that they usually join some kind of group, so to say. I wouldn't want to say a cult group anyway, but I don't know where that mentality came from anyway. But
Mm,
so because of that, she insisted that I was not going to study law so that I won't end up joining. She's a Christian anyway, so all of those things actually shaped the whole thing. So I now felt that, okay, so what do I do? What do I do? Since my mom has kicked against this idea, you know, my dad is more like a democratic person, so to say.
mm,
He doesn't
mm,
force anything on you,
yeah.
you know. But moms now, exactly. So eventually, I just decided to go for, you know, um, so I gained admission into journalism. I started, of course, my study. It was not until the final year. I think I just finished my second semester examination, and then I was doing a particular project, you know, then it occurred to me the fact that journalism, though of course some of these things I was exposed to in the classroom, I didn't really realize the importance of journalism as a profession. Respected human rights lawyer in Nigeria, Femi Falana, you must have heard of his name.
Yes.
So, yeah. So he appeared on the TV and he was analyzing some issues, and he made reference to Section 23 or 22 of the Nigerian Constitution, which empowers the media to hold government to account, to be the watchdog of the society, to do constructive, to do critical reportage and the likes, So at that moment, it was as if a veil, was opened.
Wow.
And at that period, it was as if a power descended upon me. And then the confidence just came that, so I can actually do much more than what I would have done if I had studied law, and that was how it all started. So from there, of course, I went to NTA, had my internship. Of course, I went further to Independence Television in Lagos, also did a 1-year internship. I did some freelancing, and even while trying to do my internship at the AIT, I was also, because I also studied computer engineering, so to say, and
Oh,
networking,
okay.
so I was doing that as well on the side, But after my graduation, I moved to Abuja Capital Territory, So I was looking for where I could do my primary assignments, after of course, to observe the compulsory program.
Yeah.
So I was posted to a construction firm, and then in the process, okay, I was hoping that the construction firm will engage me because, of course, I have the understanding of different legs of journalism or mass communication, if I may say, publishing, public relations, journalism proper, book publishing and all that. So I felt that, okay, I can still function within this company as a PR expert. But again, the firm rejected me and said they can't admit me. So I had to find a place where I could observe my PPA. So yeah, so what I did was I had to write down, because FCT as of that period, of course, was a new location. So I had to write down all the media organizations that I'm familiar with. I did a list, so every morning I would dress up in my and then visit each of those media organizations to introduce myself to them and to tell them that I would like to have my primary assignments, with them. Eventually, I got 3 offers. The Nigerian Tribune newspaper is the oldest newspaper in Nigeria, established by one of the nationalists, Nigerian nationalists, late Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Then Daily Trust newspaper, it's as of then is considered a northern paper, but currently is the national paper. And then the last is happens to be the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper was doing critical reporting. So it became so popular, and then because of that, I decided to go for the Nation newspaper instead of the other two, publications. So eventually, of course, I tried my very best during my service year, and I was fortunate that I was retained, to continue practicing under the platform. I was assigned beats. I was covering beats, the environment, the agriculture, MDGs as of then, and then a number of other beats, and that's where it started from. Then after some time, I decided to go into investigative reporting.
Okay.
I was lucky. Um, a training. I saw an offer. My boss actually introduced me to a particular, shared a particular link with me to,
Okay.
um, yeah, to put in if I'm interested in a training surrounding open contract reporting, critical investigative reporting, and the likes.
Okay. Mm.
So, of course, he saw that I was passionate about it, you know. So when the offer came, he shared it with me, the
Mm.
opportunity rather. So, and I was lucky. I was shortlisted, and then
Mm.
I was trained. So after the training, I started doing critical stories that held government to account, stories around the environment, stories about public procurements in federal governments, ministries and agencies and the likes. So, you know, I could remember one of my stories was the investigation I did on the Great Green Wall project.
Mm.
It's actually a tree planting project that ought to go across 11 northern states in Nigeria.
Okay.
But yes, but it failed. Some of
Mm.
these things were exposed in the report. How contracts, tree planting contracts were given to us. So some of these things were detailed and then well reported.
Mm.
Of course, the DG then
Mm.
um, confirmed some of our findings in the
Okay.
story.
Mm.
Yes, engage the Bureau of Public Procurement to organize the special training for his procurement team. And
Mm.
then he also asked some of the staff of the agency to go understudy what Senegal is doing on the same project.
Mm.
So those uh, served as motivation for me to continue to do more critical
Mm.
stories, critical reporting. And at some points I left the Nation newspaper, joined the ICIR International Center for Investigative Reporting, and then grew to become the head of investigations and then data fact checker at the organization. So that's
Okay.
just the journey.
Mm. What would you say represents the most challenging assignment you've ever undertaken?
Okay, I will tell you that most of my assignments are always challenging.
Mm.
That's the truth. Because if you are doing investigative reporting, you are putting yourself at risk, basically.
Yes. Yes.
And then so it's more like you just taking a risk, and you never can tell what could happen eventually.
Mm. Mm.
So while on the field, but I think one of those um, was the experience I had when I think I went to Sokoto, you know, and I was almost uh, kidnapped, you know, uh, but I was lucky in the sense that my fixer, okay, happens to be um, a Yoruba person of my same ethnic group,
Mm.
my language, but he was born in North. So you understand the language, the deeper part of the language,
Mm.
including proverbs and the likes. Okay,
Mm.
so he was able to help me out eventually. You know, I wouldn't want to say so much in that respect.
Yeah.
You know, and another experience was, I think during that same story, while I was trying to do that same report, as of 2 a.m., I was still on the field. I couldn't get vehicle. And the terrain happened to be where the Boko Haram guys do operate.
Yeah.
So I was literally on my own, so to say. The
And at their
network
mercy.
was poor. Exactly. So I I was confused for the very first time. I was hopeless. I didn't know what I could do. But again, help came. I'm this person that believe in God, even though I'm not a saint, okay? Whatever assignment I want to embark upon, I always commit it before God to just help me out, and I think that was what happened eventually that very night, So around 2:30 a.m., so I was just called with my fixer that they've helped us secure a vehicle, and then we had to just quickly leave that terrain that time of the night. In fact, we were told that if peradventure anyone stopped us along the way, we should just tell the person or the group that we are core members. Okay, we shouldn't tell them that who we are, that we're journalists or something. Yeah. So, and that was what helped. Of course, anything could have happened to me that very day. I also had this experience when I went to investigate um, illegal gold mining somewhere
Okay.
in southwest Nigeria. Yeah, because at some point the Nigerian government stopped the mining of gold in this Zamfara state, due to crises and some issues around insecurity. So those guys moved to the southern part of the country where they know that the state is rich in gold deposits. So it was really difficult, penetrating into that terrain. Uh, but somehow I was able to enter into the the it's a forest. Actually, it was actually a forest, which, if anything had happened to me there, nobody would have known anything really.
Yeah.
Because even the gold miners themselves, they experience landslide, you know and then once the land collapses on them, that's the end, you know so but I was able to scale through the entire process, and then came back. So there have been several risks, but like I said earlier, investigative journalism involves a lot of risk. So you have to be courageous, you have to be determined. I want to believe that is the determination, and then the will, okay, and ultimately God's help, that has been helping me all along. Not my.
Yeah. When I hosted one of the most respected media personalities in Africa, Mr. Lekon Tufodorin, he says something that investigative journalists should dig deep, but no assignment is worth their life. All these assignments that give you close shaves, when you come back home, how are you able to remotivate yourself to go back and do more daring ones?
I think it boils down to passion, right? And then the determination to want to make a change, like that childhood quality, that childhood um I
Desire
can
or
just say that
ambition.
zeal, you know, to want to help the needy, to want to help the masses. Even then, when I was I didn't even know how I was going to do that, but I just knew that I don't like my fellow men to be cheated. I'm not always comfortable with someone cheating me as well. I don't like people being taken advantage of. So when you look at all of these stuffs and then you realize that, take for instance, a lawmaker that is expected to provide a constituency project, okay, and then he decided to loot the money. And as a result, pregnant women are dying.
Yeah.
You know, infants are dying because a greedy politician stole the money. You know, that alone, you know, it ignites some kind of fire inside of
Anger.
me
Yeah.
to want to go after. Of course, I can't box him.
That's right.
Thing I could do is to use my journalistic skill, okay, to expose this politician, irrespective of anything, but of course, do that in an objective, well acceptable manner, okay, in a convincing manner that the readers won't have to think twice before agreeing to the fact that this person is actually a criminal, okay, and he doesn't deserve being called a lawmaker or being their representative at the parliament. You know, that's just an instance. You understand? So I remember there was a story I did on a coal mine, you know, owned by Aliko Dangote. That's the Africa's richest man.
Yes.
You know. So if you check my LinkedIn page, that has been my pinned articles in investigation. You know. So I went deep into the mine where they were actually doing coal mining, and I was able to get incontestable evidence, facts, you know. Of course, I know the kind of person Dangote is. I know his personality. I know his influences and all that. Yeah. But those never deterred me. I was actually looking at the host community, the women who were losing their pregnancies, all because their stream, the only source of water, okay, was polluted. Okay, so the farmers, you know, the cassava, the likes, were already turning, is it gray or something, because of the coal. The coal has polluted all of those farm produce. So all of those things put together, I said, oh no, we can't just keep quiet. Of course, you know, it's our job as journalists to expose wrongdoing in the society.
Exactly.
So even without our job is for public good, okay? So even without being you might even want to just put aside all the risk, because you know the essence of your job. It's just like a military personnel, a soldier. You know your primary mandate is to defend the territorial integrity of your country, okay? Yes. And ultimately even sacrifice your life if need be, right?
Yes.
So if you as a journalist, you also have that kind of understanding, then you won't have any problem pursuing any story.
Hasn't your family ever expressed worry that you are dancing with the devil too much and they are afraid that one day this might turn into the dance of death?
Yes, I agree with you. Of course, I get that virtually every time, you know, from my immediate family, from my extended family. In fact, I was warned not to actually stop this kind of journalism. Yeah, that's the truth. You know, luckily for me, I have an uncle who is also a journalist. Okay. But he focused more on photojournalism.
Okay.
You know, So I, knowing him as a very brilliant photojournalist. He works with one of the national dailies. And in fact, he was even one of those who discouraged me that, see, there is no money in this job. Don't even bother. Don't even bother coming into it. I remember when I got the Wameka last year, I was among the finalists. I think I took the second, in anti-corruption category. So I'm not the type that do Facebook and social media stuff. So but I just felt, okay, let me just post this. So that it won't be as if this man that claims to be a journalist, we don't even know if he's a successful journalist or one of the backbenchers or something. So even my junior colleagues have been saying that, Mr. Gbenga, you need to be making noise about some of your achievement and the likes. Okay, so when I eventually summoned the courage, I just posted that, and so he was forced to still make that same comment. I told this boy not to go into journalism, but he insisted. I told him that there is no money in journalism, this, that, and all that, but he still insisted. So when I saw that comment, I just smiled and I just, so it still boils down to the conviction. It boils down to the legacy, you want to leave behind, the little quota that you actually want to contribute to nation building. So these things have been the driving force. So yes, my family has always been on me, to be careful, and that's why I also try as much as possible not to expose my family. You will never see me post a picture of my spouse or my children or whoever. In fact, if you go to my profile picture on Facebook, the picture that I posted, I used since 2011. That's the picture that I still there up to date. You understand? So if not that LinkedIn is a professional platform and the likes, I won't have used any picture, so to say. And of course, those were part of the security measures, I also try to put in place just to ensure that, I also don't put my family or my loved ones in danger, because of course I know the implication of, I have plenty enemies. So I know the implication of the job, the kind of job I do, yeah.
Do you have social life?
Wow, do I? I I I don't. I don't. Even my spouse have always say that, Mr. You are always too serious. Always too serious. Like, can't you just
Relax.
take a break and just you know, but it's just that as an investigative journalist, you for me, I'm always angry, right? With the things I see around me. Okay. I'm always angry. I'm always like, okay, this is the next project. I need to do this. I need to do that. So all of those things, I would say probably deny me the time to say, okay, I want to probably go and play football, or I want to go and see a movie or stuff like that. No. The only thing I can say that I do is just road work, just road work. And that's all. Nothing else, nothing else.
But let me find out, after all the tedious work you do on masking and exposing those that are enemies of the state, Are you able to get help, let's say, where security agencies or the law courts should come in and give finality to the work you have done? Do you get that kind of support? Or sometimes their actions also end up frustrating you?
I agree with you. Yes, it can be very discouraging, okay? Especially when you actually took your time painstakingly, as a journalist, not even just as a mere journalist, but as an investigative journalist,
Yes.
whatever thing you are exposing, there must be evidence. There must be even more than enough evidence, okay,
Yes.
to validate your point, So and this evidence don't come cheap, right?
Yes.
You may go extra mile. Of course, you will go extra mile, not even me, and in the process, you expose yourself to risk, right? So after putting up all of these stuffs, it's more like you've done 80% of what an anti-graft agency will have done, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what is expected is for the anti-graft agencies to take it up and then, start prosecution, so to say, or do a little,
Yes.
or just subject our findings to independent verification. So which, of course, makes their job easier. And then go ahead and prosecute. But at times what you hear is, okay, you have to write a petition. Can you imagine? Write a petition. A journalist is not a civil servant that will write petition. The best thing you can do is to bring out all the documents, set an agenda,
Yes.
put everything at the public space, speak to relevant stakeholders, seek opinion of experts, make reference to what is happening in other parts of the world, and then put context to entire stuff that you've done. Then you guys just look at it and do a bit of extra findings and then go ahead. But they will say, go and write a petition. And then you now start wondering, well, I have done my part. So in that kind of situation, you get discouraged.
Yes.
You get discouraged. Or you see a situation where you did a story and after some time, the corrupt person was sent to prison, and probably after spending 6 months, the person gets a presidential pardon. Do you get? So all of these things kind of makes you angry to want to say, but what's this? Okay, I think let me just give you an instance.
Okay.
Okay, one of the stories I did, I think the one on Dangote coal mine. Okay, one of the families that were one of the families that was affected, Dangote eventually compensated the family with $1 million naira.
Okay.
Even though Dangote suspended operation there in Kogi State and then paid this family $1 million naira, because the husband, of the widow actually died, in the mining site. Okay, and Dangote coal mine tried to hide it and all that, but again, we exposed the whole stuff. So eventually, the woman got $1 million naira, and then I didn't hear anything. Okay, so I was looking at impact, what impact has my story generated, So after this woman got this compensation, I didn't get to know anything. I was expecting that she will update me and then I can do my story and say, oh,
yes,
thank God, after our investigation, this is what has happened. Dangote has done this and that, whatever, whatever, But the woman kept quiet and never said anything, Not until I think in the process of withdrawing the cash in one of the banks, she realized that about 300,000 naira had been illegally withdrawn from her account. So she was left with 700,000. So that was that period. She now realized that, oh, there was this journalist that helped them, expose the whole injustice and all that. So the first daughter called me. And when she called me and she narrated the whole thing, I was like, I was like, I don't understand. Oh, so you guys got ₦1 million and you didn't even at least tell me. And she now started apologizing and the likes. And I said, no, it's not a big deal. I just feel that as journalists, we should be fair enough, okay? We've written against the injustice committed by the firm, and then the firm also tried to do one or two stuff. We should have also reported that, okay? But you guys just kept mute, not until this thing happened. So that kind of stuff, okay?
Yeah.
It's enough to discourage one.
That's right.
Exactly. And then at some point, I think was it not last year, I got an information that the people in that community, okay, ran back to the Dangote coal mine, the firm, and pleaded that they should come back to site.
How?
Oh, you also asked how? I was like, when I heard that,
unbelievable.
Exactly. I was like, is this not the same firm that did not even the well that was dug for these people was polluted because it was subjected to lab tests. Okay, your people were having miscarriages and all that and all that. Fine, Dangote eventually shut down operation and left, to the neighboring state. But you guys went back and begged Dangote to return. Well, I was not thinking that, okay, what if probably then Dangote has used his power, of course, then the Secret Service were after me, they were tapping my phones and the likes, some stuff happened then. So I was like, okay, what if something terrible had happened to me then? And my relative now get to know that you people ran back to Dangote and asked Dangote to come back to your community. How would it have sounded? So those are the things. But again, the little impacts have been sustaining us. The little impacts, the smiles we see on the faces of the masses, of the people, have been sustaining us, have been motivating us really to want to continue to do more. Okay?
Yeah.
So if not, I agree with you, one should have just angrily said, see, I'm done with this thing.
But your uncle who advised you that journalism will not make you rich, this. Now that you have entered, you spent some years here. Will you say journalism pays? Does it pay?
Okay, journalism, does it pay? Well, journalism pays to some extent, it does. Okay, but if you are doing critical reporting, okay,
yes,
like critical reporting, you may not really. The truth is, if you are looking for money and you want to be wealthy, don't go into journalism. Okay, if you are looking for wealth, you want to be rich and all that, don't. Okay, but again, you can be comfortable. Really, you can be comfortable. Like, you can pitch stories to, aside from your organizations, you can pitch stories to international organizations, and then they will pay you, in foreign currencies, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You are lucky, your story could win an award, and then you get some kind of stipend or financial benefit, so to
Yeah.
say. All those little stuffs. Then traveling opportunity.
Mm.
You know, but again, some people will say, "Who does traveling help?" Do you get? We are talking about money here. You are saying traveling.
Traveling.
But again, I believe that traveling is part of, education. You meet people, you have exposure, you
Mm.
know. So you can live a decent life, not an
Mm.
extravagant life, you
Mm.
know. Live a decent life, you know. Take care
Mm.
of your children, you know, you know. And then after some time, you might probably end up being a lecturer
Mm.
somewhere, and then you just, but if you are looking for money, like real money, you know,
Mm.
don't don't go into journalism.
How often do you get approached with money or material things to compromise your works? How often?
Oh, that comes virtually every time. Okay. Yes, that's the truth. That comes virtually every time because when they know that held you've held them at a very, strategic part. I don't want to use is it obscene language or immoral
Yeah.
language?
Yeah.
You know, you hold them at the jugular, you
Mm.
know, and there's no escape route. They know that this person has the fact and all that, and you're actually reaching out to hear their side of the story. Okay,
Yes.
uh, which because that part is very important too. You
Yes.
know, they will like, what's the way out? So they will invite you, you know. But oftentimes, if I'm being invited, I try to go with one or two other persons.
Okay.
Okay. So and then I don't go alone.
Yes.
So and then we have whatever discussion and all that and all that. So they might not want to present whatever gift, cash gift or whatever in front
Mm.
of my
The
other
others.
colleagues.
Mm.
Exactly. And even if they decide to, they might say, okay, fine, let's see and double it because he's here with two or other persons. We'll
Mm.
just tell them that, okay, just give us like 2 minutes. Let's quickly talk to our driver and then we are off. The next day, where are you guys? Oh, sorry. We actually left. We got an urgent call in the office. you know. So it actually requires wisdom. I won't lie
Mm.
to you. You
Mm.
know, it requires wisdom because if you don't apply wisdom, you might just see yourself, you know. I
Mm.
just pray that something terrible will not just happen to you. But
Yeah.
that's why it's important you apply wisdom. But
Mm.
again, when they see and they know that this person or this organization doesn't collect bribe or doesn't cannot be influenced
Mm.
by financial gratifications,
Yeah.
they they tend to plead. Okay,
Mm.
they will say,
Mm.
okay, please, what can you do to help us?
Mm.
Then we can now say, okay, fine, help you. Well, the best thing we can do is um, go and write your position, put it in paper,
Mm.
okay, send it as a press statement. We will publish copiously, we'll quote you, okay, even though we reached out to you, you
Mm.
know, and then you never cared, okay, but again, the media, the platform is for everyone.
Yeah.
We are not the judiciary, we don't make judgment.
That's
So
right.
just come with your own part of the story, we look at it, and then we'll publish. And if we discover that your part of the story is also faulty, we'll still report.
Yeah.
Let me quickly give you an instance. I did a story on the permanent secretary of the State House. That's
Okay.
in Nigeria, the State House.
Yeah.
That's the organization, government agency that manages the president's
Yeah.
affairs and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did a story and then realized that he was accused of a particular multi-million dollar deal,
Okay.
a basketball deal and all that, you
Mm.
know. So after getting all the relevant information, reaching out to multiple sources,
Mm.
including the global basketball body, and all that, you know, I was lucky to get his contact. He's a big man. To
Mm.
become a palm sec in the State
Yeah.
House, it's not an easy thing.
Mm.
So incidentally, he was also a two-term former chairman of the Nigeria Basketball Federation,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
So yeah, spent 8 years as chairman, and he still wanted to become a kingmaker, so to say, you know. So, and it was causing a lot of problems. So we just did the story, and then I was lucky to get his contact, and I reached out to him. So I just said, sir, good afternoon. Um, I dropped a message I think I dropped message via WhatsApp. So are
Okay.
you Mr. So?
Mm.
And he said, okay, yes, I am. Okay, I called him. He said I should send a text. So I called, he said I should send text, which I did.
Okay.
So I asked, okay, are you so? He responded, yes. I said, okay, fine. So I just dropped the question.
Mm.
And then he decided not to respond again. Do you get? So he decided not to respond again. So when the story came out, multiple efforts to reach him failed
Mm.
via email. The strategy is we try as much as possible to reach out to you.
Mm.
Text, email, WhatsApp, whatever means, call. So, and then we document all of these processes in the report so that the public will know that we actually made deliberate efforts to seek your input.
Yeah.
So when he decided not to respond again, we just went ahead and then we published.
Mm.
And the story was published. So after publication, the next day, this, that, stuff like that. And then uh, my organization said, okay, fine, if that's the case, is there any part of the report that we lied or that we're actually very wrong or something? They said no, that we should have reached out to them. I said, okay, we actually reached out, but the PS did not respond. They
Mm.
said, okay, fine. If you have a press statement, kindly share. So they came and then they drafted a press statement, more like a reaction and all that, to say
Yes.
there was nothing like that. This person is transparent, whatever. So it was sent to me. So when it was sent, I looked at it again. I looked at it. I because of course, as a journalist, you must always have your doubts.
Yeah.
It's not everything that looks so
Mm.
true. So I looked at it and I realized that number one, the press statement was not signed, okay, which was a red flag, okay. Now,
Mm.
number two, it was a coalition of one NGO, whatever, something basketball association, and I was like, okay, I've never heard of this NGO before. I went ahead and I did a deeper findings, and I discovered that I reached out to the basketball stuff stakeholders, and they said there was nothing like such NGO, you know. And I went ahead and I reported. Okay, the presidency says so. Even though whatever, I will put everything there again. You know, maybe they will come again tomorrow and I'm curious. But since then up to now, we've not had anything.
Wow.
So it has always been like that. Yeah.
How long do you intend to do journalism?
Wow, that's a very serious question.
Mm,
Journalism is very tasking,
yeah.
As a journalist, you must know a bit of everything.
Yes.
So which means that you must be vast,
Mm,
you must be versatile. So, and it also means that it's the mental activity. It takes so much from you,
mm,
you know. So for me, I will continue to practice journalism, really. And then at some point, I look forward to um, transferring my knowledge.
mm,
Building my capacity is very key, is cardinal,
mm,
okay? Because the media space is evolving, new things are coming on board,
yeah,
new technologies are coming in. You
mm,
hear of artificial intelligence in mapping stories, telling
mm,
stories. You hear of metaverse, okay,
yeah.
in telling stories using illustrations. These
Mm,
are innovations, okay,
mm,
in the media space. And you can't just sit back. So for me, capacity building is key.
mm.
And then ultimately, I may just end up in the classroom, okay, sharing my knowledge over time, over the years, and probably be a media consultant. Yeah.
What are your golden memories these years that you have troubled the troublemakers?
Okay, I think the one that just came to my mind that has to do with okay, yeah, the current president of the African Development Bank,
Okay.
okay, Akinwumi
Additional.
Adesina. I
Yes.
told you then that I covered agriculture,
Yes.
So
Yes.
are you with me?
I'm with you.
Yes, Adesina. So when he was a minister, when he was a minister of agriculture, you know, um, he I was always asking questions, critical questions,
Mm,
you know, and then and the man also seems to be so ambitious. And I was like, okay, fine, how is it possible? Look at the budget that has been given to this ministry in the past 5 years, and you are saying you are going to do this and that. So how realistic? So I was always asking. So at some point, you say, so after this briefing, you will say, okay, Gbenga, do you have questions? Do you understand? You know? And I will say, okay, no, sir, I don't have any question. And if I do, of course, I
mm,
will ask. So that has always been. And then I think I had another experience. I did a story, and then about some rice milling machines that
mm,
the federal government approved money for, and I realized that farmers at the grassroots were not getting these stuffs. They traveled miles before they could mill their rice.
mm,
So I did my story, so I needed to seek reaction from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. I think that was during Chief Audu. So I asked the question, and then I think the minister was trying to, shelve it and all that. You know, he didn't give me a good response, a
mm,
satisfactory response. And then
mm.
he wanted to enter into his office from the conference room. So I just stylishly blocked him, and he said, "Sir, you've not answered. You should not answer the question I ask you." You know, so he didn't even remember the contract.
Mm.
So he had to ask his Minister of State. I said, "Okay, which contract is he talking about?" So the Minister of State now reminded me. I said, "Okay, fine." So the following week, they started distributing the rice milling machines and all that, you know. So, okay, I think I remember that story actually won me an award, an Action Aid Journalist of the Year that year, you know. So those were the things, you know, fantastic memories, you know, and the best of all, I would say, is the smiles. Okay, the smiles I see, the feedbacks I get, okay, from people, okay, who have been impacted or assisted through my reports,
Yeah.
okay. So they reach out and say, "Oh, Benga, thank you very much." You know, some are even so willing to give me money, the likes, and say thank you for. I say, no, 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 don't worry. We're actually doing our job. ICIR, that's what we do. We help people and all that. One of those happens to be a particular family who paid for a property here in Abuja. You know what it takes to pay for a
Yeah.
property here in Abuja,
Yeah.
you know, millions, over 5 million naira, you know, for a property. You know, for 5 years down the lane, the family did not get the property, and the family could not get their money back. You know,
Wow.
yeah. So they just reached out to me via an email, and then we continued from there. I only demanded for their documents. So far, you actually have proof of payment and every necessary evidence, piece of evidence, then you don't have problem. So they shared it. I looked at it. I started work on it. By God's grace, eventually, the firm, which is one of the best, the top property firm in Nigeria, you know, came back and then offered to pay back the money with interest of about 15%,
Wow.
running to about, is it 7 point something? I can't remember, million, far more than the initial payment. So, and up till today, I've not met the woman. I don't even know her. She wanted to come to the office. I said, "Madam, don't worry. You know, we are just doing our job." She demanded for my account details. I said, "Madam, don't bother. Okay? Don't worry. We are just doing our job." Just last week, three persons from the UK reached out to me again. I said, Benga, we saw your report that you did on this firm. I've also been scammed. This, that. Three of them. So, and then you see mails coming on from every angle, and then
Yeah.
so those things have been the driving force, and then have been good memories. I won't lie to you.
Yeah.
Okay, you know. So that's just it. You know.
Should journalists be licensed?
Yes, I absolutely agree to that. But licensed by who? Government or by professional bodies? I think you need to clarify that.
Well, just like we have the lawyers being licensed to practice, the medical professionals also being licensed to practice, there can be a certain regime like that validates the professional work of journalists. That is the thinking behind the question, should journalists be licensed?
Okay, so I think that's actually a very dicey question. Okay, but you know, government is smart. Okay, government have always find a way to gag the media, right?
That's right.
So, uh, so they might want to come under the guise of trying to stop misinformation or whatever. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
You know. causing tension and whatever, I want to say, okay, we are coming up with a regulation or stuff like that. So, which of course won't be accepted. But if the licensing will come, okay, via a professional body, okay, just like we have the Nigerian Union of Journalists, okay,
Yes.
just like you have the is it Medical Council this time, or
Yes.
NME, Nigerian Medical Association, stuff like that, and then you have NBA, Nigerian Bar Association.
Yes.
If you are not a licensed lawyer, you can't practice.
Yes.
Exactly. So if we can have such professional body that will regulate, that will ensure high professionalism, it will be a brilliant one, because today you see everybody just call himself a journalist. Okay, if you can write, or probably you've read novels, and in your subconscious self, you can now use flowery language and start, doing some dramas. Then you now start calling yourself a journalist. That's not true. That's not right. Okay, I was I was having a conversation with someone, a couple of, okay, it was even a public discussion. I raised it, that these days we seems to have, in the era of digital media, social media, and the likes, you just see someone come up and call himself a journalist without standing by, or without being guided by the cardinal principles of journalism, core values of journalism. Talk about objectivity,
Yes.
fairness, balance,
That's
okay, accuracy,
right.
all these things. And you just go and you just come up with stuff, and then you just put on the social media. And ignorantly, the ignorant public, particularly the young ones, start hyping you and hailing you and all of that and all of that and all of that. Not knowing that it's not entirely the way it should go.
Yeah.
Okay, I spoke about the need for fairness. I spoke about the need to. You are not a court of law.
Yes.
Okay, you are not part of arm of government where you have the executive, judiciary, and the legislature.
Legislature.
Even though the media is the fourth estate, right? So yours is to gather all your facts, okay, and then present them to the public, and let the public parliament, if I may use that word,
Yeah.
okay, decide on it. Okay, there will be some who will be in support, there will be some who will be against, but policymakers will look at it and say, oh, this is what this person is saying. But that's not what you see these days. You see sensational reporting.
Yeah.
You see people come up with funny headlines, all because you want to gain traction or traffic.
That's right.
You see people do all manner of stuff, all because of money again. So I feel that if we have that kind of licensing, that for core professional journalists, and the license will be given by a group or a nationally recognized body, right? Not government interference this time. I need to be clear on that so that people will not say, what's this man saying? Yes, I can say that that won't be a bad idea, because a lot of people now just come up with all manner of stuffs, and so to sanitize the profession. Some people, after going back and forth, and then they couldn't get a job, I'm a journalist, and start practicing. So that's just my candid opinion.
My final question.
Are you there? Are
Yes,
you there?
I'm
Okay,
here.
fine.
My
So,
final
so, so,
question.
let me quickly add something.
Yes.
Without licensing, okay, go against the ethics of the profession, my license may be withdrawn, okay?
Yes.
And because of that, they will stay by the guiding principles of the profession.
My final question.
Okay.
How many years have you practiced since you came into journalism?
Okay. I think this year will make it about 10 years.
Okay. So if we are to go back into time, 12 years, are you still going to choose journalism?
About 10 years. About 10 years.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely yes. Yes, because to some extent I can say I am fulfilled.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And fulfillment does not necessarily mean having money,
Yeah.
right? Or being wealthy.
Mm.
Okay. But the number of lives you're able to impact, okay,
Yes.
the number of um, smiles you're able to put on the faces of people, the number of changes you're able to make through what you believe in. So yes, I'll still practice journalism if there were to be a change of time, so to say.
Thank you
Oh,
very much for
yeah,
this.
yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Steven. I'm
Right.
happy. It's really a privilege, to appear before your program. I count myself so lucky, so thank you very much. And then continue to do the great work you're doing to also give journalists a voice to express themselves, to share their experiences, and to talk about their personal uh, their personal experiences, so to say, that they've seen on the field. Some of these things, it's they have a way of easing you somehow.
Yeah.
You know,
Distressing.
exactly, like all the mental stress and all that. So by spilling it out, you are easing yourself, so
Yeah.
to say. So thank you so much, and thank you once again. Thank you.
We call this program Pens Down because on this program, the journalists put their pens down and they become the newsmakers, not the news reporters or the presenters. It's been another exciting edition. Head of Investigation for the International Center for Investigative Reporting, Olugbenga Adanikin, was my guest. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next time with another edition. Do stay tuned. Bye for now.